Hi everyone, my name is Jay West and this TV show is called Directions. I picked the show name because I like to interview people or talk about directional changes in our life that due to circumstances or situations or life changes that motivate us to respond or suddenly happen and life shifts suddenly and goes a different direction. How do we respond? And what do we say? And how do we navigate the new season? And so today I'm going to talk about a short-term directional change. Actually, two of them. One was short-term, one was long-term. Didn't really say that well, but you'll get it in a minute. One is revolving around my wife. 2 weeks ago, she's a counselor at a Christian school here in the community. And she decided with less than a week's notice that she wanted to go to a conference in Nashville, Tennessee called the American Association of Christian Counselors. And she had known about it for a while. It somehow put it in the back of her mind, and then it popped up, and she really had a desire to go. And there was room for 7,000 people, and they were sold out. And it was going to be held at the Grand Ole Opry Gaylord Hotel in Nashville, a very large complex. And but like I said, they were sold out. And so we prayed about it together. And when I prayed with her, I like to pray scriptures. I'm a believer. You've probably noticed that if you follow my show. And I prayed Psalm 37, verse 4. It says, "Take delight in the Lord, and he will give you your heart's desires." And that's what I prayed over. I prayed that the Lord would give her the desire of her heart. And we noticed on the website that they had added in a speaker, and his name is Sam Brownback. And Sam is the former governor of Kansas and also a former ambassador for religious freedom, former U.S. senator. And he's also a personal friend of ours. He was at our wedding. And so I reached out to Sam and I said, "Hey, my wife would really like to go to this. Is there any way you can help us find out if there's any people that last minute decided they couldn't go, were turning in their tickets, or just discovered that something had come up in their lives and they weren't able to attend?" And he said, "Let me check into it." And the next day he wrote back and he said, "Yeah, I was able to get her a ticket." Tickets were $400. And this ticket was provided for her free of charge. It was comped to her. And so then she had to go to her school and ask her principal with very short notice now, with about 5 days notice, "Can I be gone 3 days next week?" And she's thinking she's going to have to use personal days because there isn't an allotment for extra days other than 2 a year. And she had already asked for 1 personal day around Thanksgiving, leaving her with 1. So she thought, well, I'm going to have to take 1 personal day, and I may have to pay the sub because she does some teaching and she does some other work in addition to counseling. And she thought, so I may have to pay for that or just not be paid for those days. But the principal graciously said, "You can go and you can, we'll call it professional development. You don't have to pay for it." So then now we're dealing with, now we've got 2 things solved, but the hotel, the Gaylord Grand Ole Opry Hotel, was like $475. That's the conference rate. Who knows what the normal rate is? And it was just like off the chart just for sleeping when you're attending a conference. We have friends who, we have a friend who works for Marriott, and she gave us what's called friends and family rate at a Marriott, basically just a block or 2 away. It was a 2-minute shuttle ride and a 10-minute walk. She was able to get a hotel room right there for $150. And it was really cool because the hotel did provide a shuttle, so she didn't have to walk when she got there. So then the last thing was the airfare. Well, you know, normally airfares are really high anyway, and last-minute airfares are just normally just way off the chart. And again, we're praying about this, and she was able to find a very reasonable fare with Southwest Airlines, and it was direct from Omaha to Nashville, so there would be no change of planes. And so she was able to go. And it was a blessing, and she made so many connections. And learned so much and came back excited about her career as a counselor and developing education in her life and counseling courses and all sorts of things that she wanted to do, and fantastic speakers, and so on it goes. And it was a directional change at the last minute. And I cannot fully express to you how much we really pray and trust in God, and quoting scriptures like I already read to you, and just believing God for the very best. How did she get a ticket comped to her? You got to understand, Sam Brownback was a last-minute addition to the list of speakers they were having, and it was our understanding that one of the reasons he was added in late was because Charlie Kirk was supposed to be one of the speakers there, and obviously with the assassination of his life, he was not able to be a speaker, and so this is one of the people they brought in. And it's just a lot of circumstances had to fall into place for Rebecca to attend. And directional changes often happen suddenly and quickly, and others take time, and they develop over time. But here was one that happened within 5 days, and last minute, and just like clockwork, everything happened, and it was pretty amazing. There's other times in your life, in my life, especially my life, I don't know about your life for sure, some of my friends watch this, so I would say some of their lives as well, is that God has a plan for our lives, and He has a desire of His heart to coincide with our heart and prophetically speak to us or talk to us or share with us about something that it's on His heart, but not necessarily on our heart. And as we engage with Him in prayer and reading the Bible and going to church and listening to His voice, if we're listening good, if we're listening closely, we then begin to adopt what's already in His heart to come into our heart. So case in point was 4.5 years ago, my previous wife, Diane, passed away of leukemia. And that was a blow to me. It was a huge blow after being married for nearly 42 years and a couple of years of dating prior to that. And it's just a strong battle, 5 years with leukemia, and then 153 days in the hospital, and even almost coming home on Thanksgiving Eve, and then getting COVID in the hospital, the unthinkable, and then seeing her deteriorate from that COVID experience, that COVID encounter, and then ultimately dying in the hospital. And I was thinking, well, okay, I've been married for 42 years. I had a nice family life experience. I've now got a directional change. I'm single, and I'm okay with that. I don't like it. There's nothing I can do about it in terms of I can't have Diane come back. So I'm like, okay, I've got a directional change, and I've got to embrace that as best I can. And during that time, I met another man here in town. He's been a guest here on the show. He was the former Papillion fire chief here in town, and he's a good friend of mine at this time. But at that time, I was just meeting him. His name is Bill Bowes. And Bill's wife of 30-some years, 38, 39 years, had also passed away suddenly of a blood clot. And he was also single. And he and I began to talk and began to share and began to pray and talk about our mutual experiences of our previous wives passing away. And it was during that time that I started to receive prophetic words. Prophetic word is a word from God. It's like prophecy. It comes to you from somebody else normally, or from the Bible. But in this case, the first one came from a man named Wayne, I won't tell you his last name, but he's in Washington, D.C. He called me up to comfort me 2 or 3 months after Diane died, and he prayed with me and was talking, sharing, and then he said, I've got a prophetic word for you. And I said, what's that? And he said, you're going to get remarried again. And he added some details to that. And I was like, no, no, I'm not going to get remarried. Uh, Maybe 15 years from now, but he made it sound like it was going to happen very quickly, very soon. And I'm like, no, I don't think that's accurate. But then a week later, I got a second prophetic word. And then I got a third one. And over the course of a month, I got 7 different people. None of them knew each other. All telling me the exact same thing, all calling me on the phone. Well, one was local, told me in person, but the other 6 called me on the phone. And they said the same thing. You're going to get remarried, and it's going to happen pretty quickly. And so I'm beginning to pray. I'm beginning to intercede. I'm talking with friends. I'm interacting with my son, Jason. I'm talking to other trusted people that I know. And Bill was one of those friends that I was talking to, because Bill, his wife had passed, and he got remarried really quickly. Within a year. And he got married to Julie, and they're good friends of ours to this day. But at the time, I'm learning all this, and I'm discovering it. And I'm walking through this, and I was like, I remember a conversation, how did you do this so quickly? I actually have another friend out in California, and his wife died a number of years ago, but he got married, this is remarkable, he got married within 3 months of his first wife passing away. And he actually met her at a gathering. She came with a friend to his wife's funeral. He met her at his wife's funeral. Just a remarkable occurrence there. And so I began to interact and meet with other men who had gotten remarried after their first wife had passed away. And so I'm interacting, I'm sharing, I'm talking, I'm listening, I'm praying, I'm listening. I'm slowly embracing, slowly holding on, like I'm holding on to this cup of water. I'm slowly holding on to the idea from the Bible that God has a plan for me. He has a plan in his heart for me, a desire in his heart. And as I embrace God, I begin to embrace his heart. So his desire becomes my desire. And I started getting asked out on dates. That seems really weird to me, just because I've only dated one lady for 40-some years, counting dating and marriage. And I remember the first time I got asked out, I told my son, I can't go out. I can't go on this date. And he said, why not? I said, because I don't meet with women alone. That's been my personal policy for years. I don't meet with women alone. He said, Dad, that was when you were married. You're single now. So in my mind, I'm still thinking that I'm married. Even though Diane has passed, I'm thinking I'm still married. And so it had to be a transformation of my thought processes. And oftentimes in your life and my life, that's what's going to happen. You're going to have a change of your mind. You have to begin thinking differently. You have to begin processing differently. What's that old adage? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results is a definition of insanity. It's like, okay, so it wasn't insane, but it was almost like, this is too weird. This is too weird for me at the initial stages of this. 7 different people, none of them know each other, prophesying to me, there's a directional change coming to your life, Jay, and you're going to get remarried. And so, I went on some dates, and I was asked on a lot of dates, and I got to the point, I said, God, this is not working. Either I've heard wrong, or the timing's off, or something's amiss. And so I'm done. I don't want any more. And I went several months. He honored that. He went several months without any dates at all, which was fine with me, because I was going on these dates, trying to determine, trying to discern. I got asked out multiple times, and I didn't initiate any of them. And it's just like, none of them are the right one. And so either I've missed God, or the timing's off, or something's wrong, And so I'm in this waiting time, if you will. And in that process, a lot of other things began to fall into place. There were changes in my life where I moved out of a pastoral role back into a traveling role, which I'm in now. And at the time, a little bit of a slow start, but God just opened up door after door after door. This year alone, 2025, I've been on 16 trips, 16 ministry trips across the country. Most of them are 5 or 6 days long, some are longer. And I've got 4 more coming up. That'll be 20 this year. Just a lot of activity going north to south, east to west, back and forth, crisscrossing the country, and being involved in this ministry. And I got hired part-time. A church approached me and said, would you like to be in charge of our prayer ministry part-time? And we'll pay you, and you can still travel and do all this. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, maybe, because there's slow times in traveling. There's 6 or 7 weeks from Thanksgiving through New Year's, and there's 2 or 3 weeks around Easter, and there's all your 3-day weekends like Memorial Day and Labor Day and 4th of July weekend and Mother's Day and Father's Day and Veterans Day and so on it goes. And it ends up to being about 16 weeks a year or 4 months where you normally don't get invited to speak. And so that's, 4 months of no income. And I thought, well, yeah, I have some side income and be a blessing. And so God's opening up that door. And I don't realize it's all part of His plan. I have no clue yet that it's part of His plan. Meeting Bill was part of His plan. Going through Grief Share is part of His plan. Having these prophetic words are part of His plan. But I don't see the whole picture yet. Excuse me, I just don't see it. And so I'm thinking, okay, God, you're gonna have to do something, because I'm not going to look. I'm not going to ask anybody out. You're just going to have to. And I go to this church. I remember sitting in this church. It's a pretty large church here in Omaha. I remember sitting there one of the first 2 Sundays I was there, and I thought, I wonder if my future new wife that's been prophesied to me is already a member of this church and is attending here somewhere, but I don't know her, and I don't know who she is. Just had a random thought, It's not really changing my perspective, but it is opening up my eyes to the possibilities. And that was in December of 2021. And I was brought on staff, and I was there December, January, February, March. And I'm doing the ministry that I'm there, and I'm traveling to other states and ministering and preaching and teaching. And I held my first seminar at this church in April. It was April 2nd of 2022. And it was called Anointed to Pray. And I've shared this story with you before, but I met a young lady there named Rebecca. I won't go into all the details about how I met her. But we began to see each other casually, and then a little bit more formally, and then dating, and then 4 months later we got engaged, and 1 year later we got married. And I have her picture here with me. It's one of my favorite pictures. And now we've been married 2.5 years. And there's a whole lot more to the story than what I'm sharing. But God was in it. God brought this young lady to me. And she would say God brought me to her as well. And her story is a little bit different than mine, but that was part of the process. And so as I look at this passage, verse I read already, take delight in the Lord. What are we delighting in? What does it mean to delight in something? Think about your favorite food. Is it steak? Is it spaghetti? Is it French food? Is it brunch? Is it bratwurst? Pizza. What's your favorite food that you really delight in, that you enjoy consuming and participating in? What if you like sports? If you like football, baseball, basketball. I'm not a big baseball fan at all. My dad was a pro football player. I love watching football, but I'm not really into baseball. For those of you who love baseball, God bless you. It's just not my favorite, Definitely, I don't have any interest in hockey. I grew up in Southern California. The only ice we ever had was a little cube in our drink, in some lemonade or iced tea. That's the only place we ever saw ice. So I didn't grow up with hockey. It's not my sport. There's music. I like classical music. I like Christian music. I like some country Western music from time to time. Some of you say, yee-haw, right now I hear it. But then there's other music I'm not really fond of, like opera and other types of music. It's not really my thing. What do you delight in? Do you delight in shopping? Do you like cars? Do you like races? Do you like, There's all travel to foreign nations, all sorts of things we delight in. When we delight in something, we really embrace it. We hold on to it. We can't wait till the next time we do it. Can't wait to participate in the next time. And it brings us happiness. It brings us joy. It puts a smile on our face. And we're excited about it when we think about it, and we're looking forward to the next time we get to participate in whatever it is that we're delighting in. And take delight in the Lord. Do we delight in God? Or do we take Him for granted? Do we only open our Bible when we have a problem? Or some people are what we call CEO Christians. They go to church at Christmas, Easter, and one other Sunday. Are we really delighting in Him, or are we just kind of have a very casual, we'll see what happens kind of deal, or just go to Him when we have a need? And he says, take delight in the Lord, embrace Him, and He will give you the heart's desire. Prior to that, it says, trust the Lord, do good, and then you will live safely in the land and prosper. And the verse after that says, commit everything you do to the Lord, trust in Him, and He will help you. That's where I was at with Rebecca. I needed help in meeting her. And God began to set up a number of things for me to walk through, and I still made the choice. It wasn't predestined for me. Okay, it wasn't like, okay, I'm going to do this and this and this, and Jay's going to do this, and it's going to walk through, and it's going to happen. I still had lots of choices. And so it's called free will. But I'm walking through those choices, and my heart is becoming in tune with God's heart, who gave me 7 prophetic words through 7 strangers, none of them not strange to me, but strangers to each other, all telling me the same thing. And then He had me meet Bill Bowes. And then I remember talking to a black pastor friend of mine named Kevin, and he was getting remarried, and another friend of mine named Bill Robinson, another Bill in Bellevue, and he talking about his situation, another pastor named Jim who got remarried. I'm talking to all these people who have already walked through and walked into a new relationship after their previous wife passed away. And so, I'm doing the natural and God's doing the supernatural. And, I'm doing what I can and He's doing the rest. And He had me meet Rebecca. And we were married 2.5 years now. And it was part of God's plan for my life. She brings things to me that I desperately needed. And I bring things to her that she obviously needed. And so we have this kind of give and take, companionship, partnership, camaraderie, fellowship in our marriage. But we also believe in God, and we pray together, and we pray for each other. My shoulder was hurting. I couldn't raise my hand up like this. I could only raise it up right here, and it would stop. I couldn't. It hurt so bad. And I just had her pray for me. That was 2 days ago. Now I can just easily lift it up. And so, same for me. I prayed for her that God would give her the desires of her heart to go to the conference in Nashville. And it was a blessing to her. This is what God knew she and I needed. God knows some people can be single, and He gives them the grace to be single. Some of them for all their lives, some of them for part of their lives. Some people don't get remarried after they lose a spouse. He knows what's best for all of us. He knows what's best for you. He knows what's best for me. And when we're in the midst of a trial, a difficult situation, we don't always see things as He sees them. We see things as we see them. We see the immediate circumstances right around our own feet and our own legs and where we are. The Bible says the steps of a righteous man are ordered by the Lord. He knows the order of things that to come and where we're supposed to be going and how we're supposed to get there. But we don't always know that. Sometimes it feels like we're crawling in the dark with our eyes closed. It's a very, very dark room, and we're trying to feel our way along. And other times the lights are shining bright and we say, yes, okay, I can see what's going on. And sometimes He gives us clues along the way. Sometimes they're through the Word, and sometimes through a prophetic word, sometimes through circumstances. And we're in the middle of those circumstances. And you get hit with a new with a bill that you weren't anticipating. I remember I came out of the dentist one day and I was really grumpy. First of all, the procedure hurt, and it cost me a whole lot more than I thought it was going to cost. And I'm walking down the sidewalk out of the office to the parking lot where I parked my car, and I'm thinking about all the stuff at home that's not going right and things that are broken and where I owe money for this and where I owe money for that. And now I've got this other expense on this, on top of this. And God just interrupted my thought process, and he spoke in my mind, and he asked me a question, a real simple question. He said, "Are you blessed?" And I literally just stopped on the sidewalk. I paused for a moment, and I thought, yeah, I'm blessed. Yeah, I'm blessed. And then he spoke a second question. He said, "So what's the problem?" You know, I was rehearsing all the negative stuff, and he interrupted me so I wouldn't be in that land of negativity all day long or week long. And it immediately just changed my thoughts and my mind. I said, "You're right, I'm blessed. I'm going to quit grumbling. I'm going to quit complaining. I'm going to quit murmuring. And I'm going to speak blessings. I'm going to declare the faithfulness of God. I'm going to walk in faith." And it just changed my direction for the whole day. So I'm encouraging you, think about the things I've said today. Trust God. Listen to him. Listen to your friends. Go to your friends. Get good advice. Get counsel. Talk to others. Make decisions towards the desires of your heart and ask God to help you get there. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as it's not against his will and sin and anything else, there's nothing wrong. He says he'll give you the desires of your heart if you trust him. So that's my message for you today. Thanks for tuning into Directions. Hope you enjoyed this show. If you see me on KPAO or locally in Omaha, God bless you. If you see me on YouTube or social media, share it with a friend and bless somebody else. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Directions TV. God bless you. Bye-bye.